am talking
Thank goodness.
because you requested that I talk.
Well, you know.
Talk.
Everybody talks, woo! Everybody talks, woo!
Is that the follow-up to Everybody Poops?
Yeah, that's right. Every poop is special. Yeah, that's something else entirely.
It's a children's book for criminals. So everybody talks. They're going to break you eventually.
Alright, how do we sound, Bulldog Smith 13? If that is your real name.
I don't think it is.
No, it could be. We're up against, we're recording this live opposite Grim After Dark, so I don't think we're going to get a lot of attention.
I'll take those guys down.
Yeah. They've got Nick on. How could that possibly be entertaining? Oh, wait.
I'll have to go back and listen to that.
Yeah. Alright, so we've got a Mitch with Skype problems, and Bobby N, whose name is Bulldog Smith 13. One of those is his real name. I'm going to choose to believe that Bulldog Smith 13, Bulldog Sith 13 is his real name, and Bobby N is his online name.
Yes, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Under the guise of mild-mannered Bobby.
Right. Let me get my notes out. So maximum, I want to do an hour on Charity Hammer, and then 15 minutes on each codex, which I think is probably enough because we're not gonna solve the world's problems on the codexes. We just need to talk about what's up. Mitch says that Skype has locked him out of his account. Well, they are free, so maybe make a new one with another email address. And we should leave Skype anyways. There's better ways to do this than Skype.
You say that, but we only have 3 or 4 problems every time we try to start a podcast.
Alright. He has many aliases, he says. They're not nice, though, and they're what his girlfriend calls him, so that's not great.
Oh.
Maybe that's what he's into, though. I'm not going to judge.
Some of those might be good, though.
Yeah. Like, maybe she calls him a dick, but in a nice way. Like, oh, a dick, thank you. Like, maybe like that. Okay. So, we're going to get rolling here with the skeleton crew of Chuck and Colin. On this Tuesday night, incredibly big and high production Charity Hammer follow-up episode.
If you can't tell, we're still tired.
Yeah, this is like Charity Hammer Unplugged. All right. So, welcome to Best in Faction,
a podcast about playing Warhammer 40k competitively.
I'm Colin.
I'm Chuck.
And that's really it. Just us.
And Mitch is lost in the warp.
Yeah, we actually rescheduled doing this a few times, so we thought we would just roll, but Mitch is unable to get into his Skype account. I'm sure that Microsoft is doing the Lord's work, the Emperor's work, keeping Mitch protected from dangerous Skype hackers. And he is
those internet entities getting in there.
Right? And so we're just going to roll with the two of us, and what's funny about that is we've been so tired, and there was so much recuperation needed after Charity Hammer that we didn't do a big episode at all as a recap, and now we're doing it, and it's just Chuck and I, and it's 7:30 at night on a Tuesday, which is the night that the club goes up, for those that are aware. But in general, it's a pretty quiet night here, and it's a little bit like we're doing Charity Hammer Unplugged. It's a little bit like what's happening.
It does have a little bit of that feel.
Yeah. Like, I feel like we should pull out our acoustic guitars and sing songs of Charity Hammer's years past.
Mine is just deep in the garage. I'm going to have to...
Yeah, I think mine's under my house.
Give it a pass.
So maybe not. There's also a fundamental issue with my guitar, which is I do not know how to play it.
Oh, mine has the same problem.
Okay, all right. Great. So thank you all for joining us. If you're not listening to this live, you found us on one of the many great places that podcasts are found. And we're just going to spend some time here, and we're going to talk through Charity Hammer. We're going to tell some stories that you haven't heard anywhere else about doing Charity Hammer, and we're going to just do a big recap episode of that. And then we're also going to talk about 2 new books that are 2 great tastes that taste great apart. Thousand Suns and Grey Knights, who both are books that my co-hosts are deeply excited about. So,
Yes.
so we'll definitely talk about that. I believe that both of them are trying to take said new armies to the GT we're all going to in a week and a half. So we're about to have some really incredible
Yep.
ones.
I'm
Okay.
painting them right now.
We're going to completely change the agenda entirely.
All right.
And we're going to have you talk about Thousand Suns now, because I'm going to
Okay.
go get Mitch connected to the thing while you do that. So,
Boy.
why don't you start talking about what you think of the Thousand Suns Codex and what you're excited about, and I'll go get Mitch added.
All right. So, Thousand Suns. Let me tell you about these. They are intricate and very, very interesting. The sheer amount of, how do I say this? I often break codexes down into like, do they have better data slates, or do they have better like stratagems? Well, with Thousand Suns, I feel like they kind of have decent data slates. They have decent stratagems, but they also have incredibly good psychic powers. So they have more moving pieces than most armies have. And I find that kind of intricacy kind of fun. I like figuring out the big crazy plays where I'll throw one out from a game Zach and I just had, where a Forge Fiend exploded, killed one Terminator. He was able to then Umbral Crystal that Terminator across the board, use his power to bring the Terminator back, get a better distance, and then make a charge in. Used so many different pieces right there. A little bit of luck, some good planning, a relic, and then a power that was available to him. I find that kind of play to be very rewarding, win or lose, which I think is something that's really important to me right now. I've been trying so hard with the Orcs to make them really competitive and figure out how to get the best best possible chance of winning out of them that I could. With 1,000 Suns, I'm still trying to do that, but I'm in the game that I played with them. I think, Colin, you beat me by almost 40 points. It was pretty bad. And part of that was on some mistakes, but also it was just, there was a lot of new to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also really enjoyed that game. I didn't stop running out of things to do until basically everybody was dead. Right? There was always some kind of, how can I work my way out of this? How can I try to solve this problem? And being engaged on that level is what makes playing the game fun for me. And if I'm going to go and play, all day and play 3 games, or play for a whole weekend at a GT, I want to have games like that, whether I win or lose. I want to be able to be like, okay, that was incredibly mentally satisfying. I'm so exhausted, I'm not even sure I can play the next game, and then, find a way to do it anyway. To me, the 1,000 Suns fit that bill really, really well. So I'm trying to get that up and going. Talk about a couple of the things I think are really amazing. I think Rubric Marines are great. I think Rubric Marines with Warp Flamers are even greater. They got an inch with the book, so now they move 6 inches instead of 5, and you can advance them, and then still fire those Warp Flamers. So you can get a pretty good amount of distance. And then it's a book that has Warp Time or Temporal Surge available to it. So now you're talking about moving them 12 inches plus D6 and then shooting 12 inches. They've got plenty of range to get those to land. So you can get a lot of value out of that. I also think in general the rubrics are pretty good. Which is bolt guns. I've been using for holding down backfield objectives and doing psychic actions. Using the Cabal point thing to get me an extra command point. Lots of little odd jobs. It only I think it's 105 points or 115 with the icon. They're a great tool to just have and spread around. I've made a lot of lists now, and I don't think I've picked minimum troop choices with any of them. I'm just always there's room for Rubric. And to go with that, I think rhinos are amazing. It's basically a few more points than other people's rhinos, but my rhinos have AP2 on their bolters and a 5-up invuln. Those two things go great together. So now you start to see okay, hey, Mitch has arrived.
Journey.
Chuck is just doing a little bit of a monologue on 1,000 Suns while I try to get you connected.
Looking at my 1,000 Suns, being like, what's good? A couple more things I'm excited about. Obviously, Aramon, exalted sorcerers, all the big sorcerers, spitting powers all over the place, having the 18 powers available to my Codex, plus I guess a whole bunch more for the one for each cult. There's a lot of really great things. I also think they got a really great set of secondaries. Like if I'm going against an opponent who doesn't have any psychic action going on, I can mutate all of the objective markers to get a 15. If my opponent has a little bit of psychic power, I can challenge them to psychic duel, where we see how many of each other's models we can each kill with psychic powers, which I will win. And if they actually have a lot of psychers as well, like, maybe Grey Knights would, or in a mirror match, I can go, okay, well, let's see who can kill the most psychers from each other. So no matter what level of psychic my opponent is bringing, I have a psychic objective to go with that. And then I still have a lot of the psychic parts of the game, like I can do the psychic ritual in the middle of the table, that sort of stuff. Some other standout units, I think, are the Chaos Spawn. A unit of Chaos Spawn is kind of flimsy, but if you can give it a 4-up invuln, I think that really ups its value, right? It's a lot of wounds for 115 points, and when you half the number of incoming wounds from it, that really becomes super powerful. I think if you have a list that doesn't want to use your Weaver face on something else, like I see a lot of people playing 10 Terminators, 10 Scarabacle Terminators. I'm aimed more at a bunch of 5-man rubrics who are all doing small, odd jobs. There's nowhere I want to put my 4-up invuln. I don't really care if 5 rubrics have a 5-up or a 4-up. What I care about is, like, okay, I'm going to put these on the spawn and send the spawn into a difficult location. Maybe I combine that with Cultist Scheming to give them objective secured or not, I don't know. But like that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I also think it's really important that we have all these powers that we can use to buff up the ranged weapons on our models. We can give +1 strength with a pact. We can give -1 AP with a stratagem, and we can give extra range with a psychic power. We have to look at every model like I've been going through all the Forge World tonight. I think I'm going to have a long consideration on the Leviathan, because if I can take the Leviathan storm cannons and up it a strength and an AP, and I can say whatever target he's shooting at can't have any modifiers to its hit roll or wound roll or amount of damage it does, a storm cannon is brutal. So I think there's a lot of play. I think there's a lot of combos. You're going to see a lot of I'm going to combine these 3 things, and all of a sudden this unit's going to do this job really well. And I think that really appeals to me, because no one particular unit in my army is super important, but I can send an army to do a job, and I can stack enough buffs on it so I think it's going to actually be able to do the job. But then when it dies, I still have all of those buffs to put on the next unit to try next turn to put something else together. Mm-hmm. And I like that sort of improvisational play, as opposed to the more scripted or organizational play that I see a lot of other people gravitate towards too.
I did enjoy in our game that you did try to make the Scorpius work again.
We always have. It's chaos. I got to throw the Scorpius in, and then I got to take it back out, and it's got to wait another edition.
Yeah, I think that some of Chuck and my worst beatdowns are all of them against lists that have the Scorpius. Like, the Scorpius is a signal that I should not take that list seriously. And we actually started playing Drukhari into Thousand Suns, and I've played a bunch of Drukhari. My list is super polished, super practiced, and I'm going, and we're on like turn 2. I think we were bottom of 2. And we're like, wait, why are we doing Drukhari into the poor Thousand Suns book that's brand new and we're just testing things? Like, that's not that's not right. So I had taken, I don't know, 75% of the board, so that you couldn't, because I didn't want you to teleport your dudes or teleport your dudes, yeah, right. And so I taken like the whole board, and we were looking at the secondaries we both chose and the primary we both chose, and we're like, okay, well, this test game is worthless, because the Drukhari have won already on the second turn, because there's no way the Thousand Suns are going to take the board back fast enough. But
well, I don't think it's worthless. That's actually the key thing I took from it, right? Is I don't actually have...
Right.
I want to play from a corner, which is a very different scenario. If I had taken Psychic Ritual and like move my whole army into a ball, or there's a bunch of different ways I could have been scoring points, instead of trying to like engage.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And then, so what we decided is that I would stop trying to play the mission and I would just go at him. and my army ran across the table at Chuck, and it was very amusing how quickly the Thousand Sons easily dispatched Drukhari when the Drukhari are not being strategic and careful. They're like going, "We killed the thing! Oh, we died. We died on our way to kill the thing." Like, it was between the psychic powers and the punching and the shooting, and it was very aggressive how quickly the Drukhari models died, and that gave us hope. And then we had that RTT last weekend. I kind of do like little tiny RTTs here at the property where I like just invite some friends over. We did a 10-person, and Zach brought Thousand Sons and went 3-0 with them. He beat Orcs, and he beat Sisters, and he beat a Custodes and Adback soup list at the end there. So that's some success, like
I played my Orc planes into him, and he zapped with his brain 2 of the planes on the first turn. He was just like, I kill that one, I kill this one, and then shot at me.
Which is rude.
Like, you can't get close to him because the amount of damage that comes out when you get within that 18-inch range is brutal.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key, right? You got to kind of slow, like, this is my space. You can't come in. You can't come. There's my kill zone, and I'm going to keep expanding it, and then see what you do about it.
Yeah.
Sounds like Thousand Sons really project power, right? Like they have a range, and then that sphere of influence just kind of expands over the game.
Yeah, and I think you have to find ways to expand slightly faster, right? You want to, like, temporal surge, I think, is going to be super important because it can allow you to say, okay, I'm going to expand X far, but this unit here is going to expand just a little bit further to interrupt your primary or something like that, so I can kind of have chances to get ahead at different points in the game.
Yeah, and I think
that's going to be important.
I think there's certain armies that when you get close to them, you just make them more efficient is all you do, right? Like, there's armies where if you go into their deployment zone, they're excited because they have all of these tools. Marines are like this, right? If you play against the Ultra Memes list, it's shooting you downfield. When you get close, it unlocks the characters' guns and the short-range Stormbolters and the guns from the infantry. Like, there's all this extra shooting that list isn't putting out each turn, and punching that it's good at. Yeah. That all you're doing is letting it kill you faster by getting too close to it. And I think Thousand Sons is going to be a lot like that. When you play against it, you're going to be constantly measuring ranges, and you're going to be trying to play the mission, and you're not going to want to go deep into their deployment zone unless you're really sure you know what you're doing. That's what.
Better finish them. Don't come hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited, and you're going to take. You think you're going to take them to the GT possibly major that's on the 11th, weekend after this.
It's not a matter of if I'm bringing them. It's a matter of which list. I essentially have created myself several staggered lists on the amount of hobby I can complete. And we'll see if I can make it all the way.
I completely understand this tactic. Yes, this makes sense to me. 100%.
Man, we got this. We've got sexy radio Mitch tonight, don't we?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot more bass in Mitch's voice than normal. Hi, everybody. Oh, hi, Mitch.
No computer, who this?
Yeah, it's nice.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Mitch.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a little hot now. I'm a little uncomfortable, but that's all right. Okay. So, what? Yeah. So Chuck's gonna take Thousand Sons to the GT hopefully major that's in a week and a half, and then we'll do an episode the weekend after that, which will be 2.5 weeks from now, where we'll talk about that experience. And since we're already talking about the new codexes, let's talk about Charity Hammer after we talk about Grey Knights, because I know that Mitch is all in. And you took Grey Knights to the RTT, so you have like actual data to talk about. So
yeah,
let's spend like 10, 15 minutes at most on Grey Knights.
Sure, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
But right off the bat, if you are looking for a deeper delve on Grey Knights, check out The Art of War Down Under. Adam has 4 episodes now, 3 or 4 episodes covering Grey Knights. And only one of them is locked behind a paywall, which is the one I ended up being in. But there's
I got the bitch. I got charged for that.
four episodes? There's
3 episodes, actually, I think.
That's a lot of Grey Knights.
Yeah, because they're so deep in the toolbox. Like, compared to Thousand Sons, they have very few data sheets. Like, because Thousand Sons have more access to models with chaos, right? But the amount of tools, like, they actually have, like, we're talking about an army where you go into fast attack and there is one option. There's just one. There's no other option. Like, Like, this is not a lot of sheets, but like I'm like there are like 5 different list archetypes I can already see that would be effective in different metas.
Also, I just want to point out that if you're saying, when you're comparing your small number of data sheets to the Thousand Suns,
Yep.
as a bigger pool of data sheets, you're in a bad spot.
That's what I'm saying.
That's like the next smallest set of data sheets.
Yeah. Yeah, we're only slightly better than Inquisition,
Yeah.
and that's just because we got given some Space Marine models. So there's a few big highlights to hit on. So Grey Knights are an entirely different kind of psychic army than Thousand Suns. I haven't played against Thousand Suns yet. I haven't even seen them played very much, but everything I've heard about Thousand Suns is they say it's going to happen and then it happens. Right? They're very consistent in their psychic powers. Grey Knights are not consistent, but they have a lot of quantity and that quality to that quantity. Insofar as they have a bunch of different powers that can, a whole tree that can be cast like Smite, and in the exact same way that it goes up in one in challenge each time, but that allows for a tremendous amount of diversity in how they play, and it gives us a totally different feeling psychic army than we've had in 8th or 9th, because we've never had anything like this. First rules jank to be aware of is there is nothing saying that one of these models can't cast any one of these powers more than once for like the mortal wound dealing powers. It only calls out Smite in the 9th edition rules that power can never be cast by the same model more than once. So theoretically, you can cast Purifying Flame and do 4 mortal wounds 3 times off of a librarian. And just be like, hey, here's 12 mortal wounds. So that's cool.
Look forward to an FAQ near you.
Yeah, well, if it catches on, it'll get fact, but we'll see. But that one's really interesting for jank. But we have almost every unit is good, with the exception of maybe Paladins, which just seem overcosted for what they do. Terminators are a little overcosted too. When you look at the fact that you can just put invulnerable saves on just normal infantry, and then those 2 wound bodies just get you more durability, especially Purifiers, who can now have a -1 damage. They're the only traditional non-pure Primaris Marines that still have transhuman, and so we still have that, so that's really cool. You can have -1 damage, 4 up invulnerable, 5 up feel no pain to mortal wounds, and then -1 damage Purifiers. And then you can take a Canonical, or not Canonical, sorry, Admech. It's just, it all bleeds together, man. A litany that makes them completely invulnerable to all psychic powers.
Well, that sounds like a problem. Should probably ban that.
Yeah, yeah. So if Thousand Suns are as good as I think they are, that's like that guy was already in my list. We haven't even hit on the thing that I took to the tournament, which was 6 Dread Knights, 3 Nemesis Grandmasters, and then just 3 regular ones, and it was great. It was so much fun. It was a monster mash. I used to run basically the same thing in 7th, and it felt great.
It was really fun to play against.
It's so much shooting. It's so much combat. It's so much psychic phase. It never stops participating in any part of the game. And yeah, and it's just a really fun way to play. It's not optimized because you're too short on CP and you're overdoing it. But I think for 1 Grandmaster and the 3 basics is almost a must because of the shooting that brings for Grey Knights. I also think that we have to explore allies and maybe pairing that with things like Wolfen Dreadnoughts or there's a few options that like the Ultra Memes list, like the redeploying. Grey Knights can redeploy 3 units as well, so you can have a double redeploy all chonky boy Imperial party. That could be really fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It's a book that makes you excited to write new lists and explore new concepts because it challenges you to use the tools in a more creative way as a player, which is not something that the AdMech Codex did, right? Like the AdMech Codex is an optimization pyramid until you reach the peak and you're like, cool, I can kill anything. But with this is a very much I can do anything, but I only get to pick 2 things this game that I'm going to get to do. So I better make sure they're the 2 right things, but I can do anything. I just have to pick the 2 right things, and if I do that, I can almost certainly be in the game, and that's a much cooler problem as a player. It's a much more interesting way to play. There's also a really interesting thing that I haven't seen enough people talking about, where you can end up with, so you take 30 interceptors, which are just amazing. You take the 2 side cannons in each squad. You combat squad them out, so you have the 3 squads of 5 with 2 side cannons. Those stay in the back with the brother captain who has the +1 to cast relic for blessings, and they just jump, shoot, and jump the whole game, never having to be shot at or touched. They just move out, shoot their shots, move back 12 inches, they're good. And you, because you can cast that power multiple times, you can be doing all of that and still slingshotting up the non-heavy weapon squad versions with the teleport strat and gate and just doing all kinds of stuff. But at the same time, you have these mobile fire bases that have a thunder hammer in them, so that it's not like you necessarily want to touch them either. So there's just a lot of really interesting, cool ways to play them.
In the situation where that goes wrong, it's that you fail the jump moves to jump, right? So you're just standing on some cover, right? You're not.
Yeah, and if you have
not wasted at that point.
The Tide of Shadows, you're -1 to be hit, and you have a +2 to your save.
Still hard to get rid of.
Yeah. So there's a lot you can do there. The main thing is with that +1 to cast, it's very, like, your first cast is a 4, your second cast is a 5, your third cast is a 6. So it's a very reliable, like, combo. Like, yeah, you might fail one of those, but not likely.
Well, on a 4, 5, 6, you are likely to fail one of those
with a +1 to cast.
It's a little better, but still, you're gonna, like, if you're doing that from turn to turn, which you likely would be, somebody's gonna get stuck out. But, like, it's not like they just disappear.
Yeah, they're not Dark Reapers.
No.
Right, they're not Dark Reapers. They're not a T3 3-up save standing out there, right?
Yeah, you're also being pressured by the rest of the Grey Knight army, so you're gonna
exactly.
are you gonna be able to handle that, or there's something in front of you got to deal with.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing,
is
there's there's a lot. The Dread Knights are amazing. The way you can buff up pretty much any squad to be, like, super killy is also really, really fun. So you never don't feel like you can't respond. And it also makes it harder for you to be out of position. There are lots of ways you can be out of position with Grey Knights. There's a ton of moving parts. And I didn't take advantage of, like, half of my rules, because way too many things to keep track of. But I got to move giant stompy robots with swords around and shoot them at things, and then they smashed those things. So I had a good time.
All was good.
All right, great. And you're going to try to take them to the GT?
It's a question of having enough models painted and ready. In that time period, I've got so much work to do. I would love to. I have some stuff painted and ready. I have to see what lists. I was going to start playing around with that tonight and figuring that out. But I would like to, very much so, yes.
Well, get it done so that we can meet, say, round 3 and have a psychic off.
Yeah. Well, I bring that chaplain, so it's a not psychic off for at least a turn.
Oh, we'll see.
All right. Well, that's some thoughts on the 2 new codexes. We didn't talk about Orcs, which is the other new codex we haven't really talked about. Chuck, maybe a little bit of thoughts as to what you've seen from Orcs so far, from Charity Hammer and now other tournaments, and you played some more Orcs, and, like...
Yeah. Well, first say, like, I tried playing 6 planes and 9 buggies. And that was all right. It just wasn't able to hold enough ground to really win the game, right? I almost tabled all of my opponents, and they all beat me by about 30 points because they were up on primary, up on secondary. They were able to just do whatever they needed to do. So I think there's some room for that list to grow into something that people could play. I didn't actually enjoy it. I like close combat a lot. I don't actually enjoy very much of being like, okay, here's my model, and I'm going to shoot you with all these things, and some of yours went away, and then I shoot you again. Like that. It's not in the fun zone for me. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to improve it to the next level. I think I'll stick with Orcs that are more like, I have a whole bunch of, like, guerrilla warfare style small units of very powerful close combatants and some shooting tricks in the background. I think like I've been painting on my my Squig Hog Riders. I think they're going to be integral to how I play. Maybe some small units of bikes with big chopper boss, that kind of stuff. I think it's, I don't know. I dislike how much Orcs stratagems are sort of costly for their impact. But I also really sort of enjoy being like, I don't really care about CP anymore. Right? I'll just spend it all on detachments, and I'll buy all the relics and all the warlord traits and upgrade all my guys. So it's just different. I don't think it's necessarily bad that way. So far, I have not clicked with it, but we've been seeing things like Rich Kilton just brought down a GT. Ben Jurek came in third in that one. Right? They're starting to put some wins up on the board, so I think we're going to start to see what really good orcs look like.
My concern with the Orc Codex, I actually read it again 2 nights ago, I think. And my concern with the Orc Codex is I think that the synergies are weak and the stratagems are poor. And I think that the only thing that gets people excited is that a bunch of the stuff's undercosted. Like, that's how it feels reading it. Like, and so
very powerful data sheets.
Yeah, and so the question is, like, what army do you want to play? Well, which collection of the 25% of the book that's undercosted do you want to play with? And the issue is that Drukhari had that same thing when their book came out, where everything was just a little bit too inexpensive, and some stuff was very inexpensive, like some stuff still is, excuse me. But Drukhari had really good combos and really good stratagems and really good synergies. And I think that that's why, while Orcs can win a GT and can be good, I think that there's a pretty decent gap between them and Drukhari and Admech. Fine, those are the S tier, they probably both need to get nerfed. But even if you drop down a tier, I think Sisters is a better army than Orcs.
So, I think you did
and
land
Ultra
upon...
Memes, too.
I think you did land upon something with the synergies conversation, because I think we've seen a lot of players really quickly glom onto the Freebooters synergy, because it is so strong, and it's so clearly strong in the Codex, because there aren't as many... Well, like, on paper, but, like, in an MSU meta, if you do not play on Collins tables with that level of terrain, Freebooters become a very, very powerful army in a lot of ways. But that's all situational. And the fact that that's the combo that everyone's glomming onto, now that could just be the first one everyone saw and something will emerge, but there aren't the obvious power combos necessarily that we would hope to see emerge right off the bat. I think that the Codex is very deep data sheet wise. That's going to give it longevity no matter what, because chances are whenever they repoint Orcs, they're going to underpoint some stuff.
Yep.
And so there will always be, like, Orcs are the counter to Space Marines in the sense of there will always be a playable version. Yeah, doesn't mean you'll like it. True. Doesn't mean it's going to be great, like, or top tier, but there will always be something you can bring, get some wins, have some good games, because there are so many data sheets, and they range from giant units to giant numbers of units, and that allows them to always be relevant to some degree. And we've seen those evergreen players kind of, I think, gravitate to that faction for that reason. When they're great, awesome. When they're not great, they're still not the worst, and that's a very stable, place to be if you don't want to play Space Marines.
It also makes those very powerful players, right? Because they're willing to try out all the different, like, people who are dedicated to playing Orcs and Orcs only are going to find builds.
Yep.
And they're going to get really good at it. So you're going to come across people, and they're going to be dangerous.
They attain the nuance.
Yeah.
I think that all could be that Freebooters list is a good example of the point I wanted to actually bring up, which comes from the wonderful Tyler, head of technology for Charity Hammer. So that Freebooters list is great, right? But it's not just terrain. What if your opponent has a forest that they can touch their whole army to? What if you're playing against Custodes and you can't get the first kill to engage the +1 to hit? What if it's Custodes with the banner, right? Like, that army, the Freebooters lists are not actually good at killing everything. There are a bunch of lists that they're really going to have a problem against, and that, unfortunately, has been Orcs for a long time. Even in 8th edition, the issue with Orcs was only for a very small period of time could they handle everybody. And so what I'm worried about is that Orcs will have good lists that can perform, but they're going to be stuck in pack and not even pack plus or S tier. And what what I think really is an interesting comparison. Tyler was pointing out that his opinion of the AdMech Codex in 8th was that AdMech had all of the power necessary to compete, but you couldn't put it all in the same list.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to make meta decisions in each army you were building. This is not the current AdMech Codex, the previous one. You had to make meta decisions in every situation where you're like, okay, I'm going to come ready to handle Tau, but I'm going to be really in trouble if I run into Tyranids or whatever. And that's what he sees as the Orc book as well. So I wanted to hear what Chuck thought of that. That it's kind of that it's the real problem is you're going to have to skew towards a particular kind of threat and weaken yourself towards others. Do you think that's a fair assessment of where the Orc Codex might go?
I actually don't think I do. I think it's a fair assessment of the freebooter style.
Okay.
I think it's a fair assessment of shooting orcs.
Okay.
I think close combat orcs, you're going to be able to bring enough. If you, instead of bringing, like, say, a screening unit, you bring one unit that's great at killing some Space Marines, and you bring one unit that has maybe a lot more attacks. It's good for taking out some witches, right? So you got a unit of Burnas, and you got a unit of Squig Hog Riders. And against the Dark Eldar, you're going to put those Squig Hog Riders out front. They're going to be the bait. They're going to get hit, and then you're going to use the burns to kill them, and then you reverse that when you go into the Space Marines. I think that's the kind of play, but that means you're not really doing shooting. It's a close combat army.
Mm-hmm.
Because with shooting, you're absolutely right. You're stuck, particularly with -1. Right? If your opponent gets -1, it's ridiculous. But even with the freebooters, I found I ended up having to shoot something I didn't really want to shoot to get the +1, so that I could then shoot the thing I wanted to shoot.
Mm-hmm. Which is also hard to plan for, because how many guns will I have left? What guns will they be?
And if it ever fails, it's really bad. And all you do is you get something that you didn't really want to shoot dead anyway, in addition to what you would have shot otherwise. So I feel like you want some shooting to help you control the board, but I don't think it's going to be a really good army for being an entirely shooting army.
All right.
I say that, but Manichima did, the 18 buggies, and he did a great job with that. But it's just highly skewed, and I suspect both those units will go up in points.
And Richard Sigler can do really well with Tau, also as a thing. So, all right. So we'll come back. We'll talk more about orcs in the future. You guys know we love orcs. We'll absolutely talk about them as more data comes out. Let's talk about Charity Hammer. So Charity Hammer wrapped up 3 weeks ago
3 months ago.
Yeah, right?
3 months ago.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. I was tired to a degree that I have never experienced. COVID lessened my endurance for social, which I didn't know. And everybody left, and I was so ready to be alone. I was just so ready. I canceled everything for the next week. My wife and I did nothing. But Charity Hammer happened. It was just wonderful. There are not appropriate superlatives to describe how excited I am about what happened at Charity Hammer. To quote an old SNL skit, I'll make one up: scrumtrelescent. It really was just amazing. For those that didn't hear the final number, in the first year of running Charity Hammer, we raised about $8,700 around there. The second year of Charity Hammer, we raised just under $13,000, and then got $5,000 more donated by companies after the fact. Then we did Hammer Out Cancer, and we made another $12,500. So we came into this one saying, man, if we could make $20,000, that'd be great. And the conversation actually went like this. COVID has been really hard on people. People don't have as much money as they did before. People aren't getting to all of them work. It's a really hard time. Lots more charity events are happening now. Money is going to different places. Let's not be overly aggressive with our goal. $20,000 sounds great. And I think we hit $20,000 6 hours into the weekend, something like that. Like in the second game, we were at $20,000.
It was pretty close before we started filming.
Yeah, we almost
We were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the amazing community, all of you out there who just have nothing but love in your hearts, donated $40,240.72. Why 72 cents? Partially because Matt Nurgle kept donating things that ended in 77 cents throughout the weekend. So thanks for that, Matt. That's why we have. That's why we have a weird amount at the end there. I can communicate to you guys from the people at Child's Play that they are so very excited to the degree that they are going to try to find a way to participate next year in a more real way, get involved a little bit more. They were wonderful for us to work with. They're just an incredible charity run by incredible people. I just can't say enough about them or about any of you, enough about any of you in the community. It was just humbling and amazing. And when everybody walked away and drove to the airport, and I think the last thing I did is I drove a bunch of people all over the place, and I drove for like 6 hours on the Monday after Charity Hammer. And when I got home and I sat down and thought about who was here and what sort of content we made and how much content we made, like 300 hours ish, and how much content John Quinnell made that I haven't seen, that he was just recording as he wandered around, and the level of players and the quality of the games and the money that we raised, and it's all just hard to imagine. As frankly someone who wasn't paying attention to Warhammer 40k 4 years ago, it was pretty crazy, pretty absolutely crazy. What would you guys say about kind of your thoughts of the whole weekend before we dive into details?
You can go ahead, Chuck.
It's just I haven't even begun to crack the content myself. Right, I've watched a few battle reports. It's like it's a great weekend, but it also is almost like a year's worth of extra as you continue to like work through the YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's like kind of touch on what you were talking about a little earlier. Is we've all been in lockdown, so this is like this big social party for me. I actually only played 5 games over the 5 days that I was there, because I just kept talking to people, just kept catching up with people, just kept hearing like what's been going on with you and stuff. And I would be talking, and then be like, oh, I do a couple of things to help out with the show, and then it'd be like, okay, I gotta go do my one game for today, and then I'm exhausted. I gotta go crash. And that ability to connect with all those people, it's we're used to seeing all these people. We go to GTs and we see them a couple times a year. We haven't seen them in years, and so it's just I don't know, just a wonderful community thing to kind of catch up with everybody and say hi.
Yeah, and people were here Monday to Monday for me. So it was very much that for me. And I got to spend... The Art of War guys came in early, which was wonderful because I'm close with those guys, and I hadn't seen them since we went to Canhammer Teams in February of 2020.
Yep.
So they came early, and I got to play a game. There's a tradition at Charity Hammer that you guys might not know, which is the night before Charity Hammer, I beat John Lennon at 40k. It's happened.
Pretty good tradition.
All 3 Charity Hammers, it's happened. The first year I don't remember what I was even playing, but he was playing Genestealer Cult. The second year I played Ridge Runners into his Imperial Fists broken shooting gun army, and this year I beat his sister's list that he won the thing with his Ultramarines list that he designed. So, but I got to play some games ahead of time. That was great too. But yeah, it was a lot of social, which was really great. Mitch, comments from you?
Oh yeah, it was. You guys have hit on obviously like just the. I guess I just kept walking around just being like, how am I this lucky? Like, what did I do? Like, I'm like, this is like the most exclusive possible like thing I have ever been to, like in the sense of like the number of people, like the exclusivity. There was a day I was dropping off some like supplies for making up the studio, and you guys were in the hot tub, and it was just like you, John Lennon, Nick Nanavati,
Mark
Matthew
Perry. Mark Perry.
Yeah, no, Mark Perry. My brain is fried. It's been a long day. Anyway, no, yeah, Mark Perry. And then I was just like, I'm like, man, they're like, this is like an ETC team, or like more like this is like the top, talent in a lot of like countries. Like it was just a weird thing. I'm like just in this room, like just in this hot tub, and then like okay.
Hanging out.
Yeah,
the most obscure nerd focused fan erotica is about to start.
You don't need to give the ST&T guys more fuel, but no, it was a phenomenal time. I got to meet so many new people, so many people from the East Coast that we just don't get to see. Yeah, and obviously have we seen no one lately, but like in general, like there's just less of that intermixing, and at Charity Hammer, everyone's just there to play, and the enthusiasm and sportsmanship is completely oriented towards the game. Because like, yeah, people want to win stuff, but like that's not what we're here for. So everyone can set all that aside for the most part and just have a great time, and that's such a unique environment. It's something so um just joyful to be in. It's really great. It was a phenomenal time. And then the charity, the people who stayed up with us for the midnight crew, and then the 2 or 3 a.m. crew, and then the 6 a.m. crew. I was on all of those. Like they were like we like it was just crazy to see the amount of consistent support and the international support. It was just every year's special, and it's always special in a bit of a different way. And I think this time it was just the scope and size of what it had become, like had kind of like dawned on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, this is like, I am a very small fish in this pond now. That changed very quickly.
Well, I think the reason why it felt like that is because I think that we reached legal like drinking age. I think we're grown up now, the Charity Hammer. I think we were.
Like, where are you going with this?
Yeah.
No, I think we were. I think that it was much more mature than it has been before.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is to the support crew that it just wouldn't have happened without. It's Tyler making all the tech work, and Michael Timpey coming up early to get my network upgraded, and Jason running around trying to be backup calling because I couldn't be everywhere I needed to be, and Paul stream hosting nonstop, and Tyler Bartel stream hosting nonstop, and Anthony being like, I can stream host, and him stream hosting. Like, it was just everybody working so hard to make it functional because, we talked about vulnerability on a previous episode. I said to the group running Charity Hammer with me, I literally can't do it. I'm going to literally go insane if I try to do all of this myself. I have to delegate to all of you. And they were so happy to hear that and eager to pick up and run with things. I didn't touch a computer the entire time, basically, other than to update schedules. I didn't have to fix a stream. I didn't like that alone allows so much freedom to go work on the event when I don't have to make sure the computers are working. So it really was just so much more polished and mature than it had been before, that it really feels like this is now the thing that happens. Like I could run, excuse me, I'm sorry. We could run Charity Hammer next year, and we could
you don't have to do that, Colin. You could run.
No. We can run Charity Hammer the next year and do exactly the same format that we just did, right?
Yeah.
The What's WA got to do with it, the GT, we could do the whole thing without changing, without getting any bigger, and it would be just as awesome. We are going to make it. We are going to make changes, but yeah.
Bringing those people in, right, and seeing that we could get that help, that there could be those people who, we could spread the load out like that, really meant that I think it's a lot more sustainable now.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's a lot of stuff that we all discovered by doing it together. This one bigger, kind of more organized time, about what needs to happen going forward. And I'm building a committee of people that each have individual jobs, and they're going to be the charity group for us. And we're going to do these 2 events a year, one small local, one big Charity Hammer event. And we're going to have people that are working all year, on making this go. So there was definitely an amount of maturity there that struck me. I think it was Sunday that I didn't do anything the whole day until it was time to do the wrap-up presentation, which was weird for me, to be perfectly honest. Anyways, let's talk about individual stuff. So we did the GT, single elimination GT. Fascinating. Lots of things happened in that were surprising. Very, very few brackets had Tyler Bortel going as far as he did with his Tyranids. 21-year-old kid at Charity Hammer running Tyranids gets to the top 8. That was pretty darn neat. Very few people had Lucas beating Rich Kilton in the first round, but he certainly did. Let's see, what else?
Very few people had me beating Tanner.
Oh, that's true, especially with your list, which we thought was a bad matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'd forgotten that. That was super exciting, actually. Nobody thought Jaime makes it to the finals. Let's just be clear. The Space Wolf player, who's the 19th seed, nobody had him going to the finals. Like nobody.
So
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Jaime's premiere at Charity Hammer was like John Lennon's 2 Charity Hammers ago.
Oh.
I feel like that. I told him, I'm like, you just keep doing what you're doing, man. Like that's where you'll be right there. Like seeing him play, like seeing how he handles the game, just like on a technical level, phenomenal.
Yeah, he worked me over. I had a pretty bad strategy against him, but he worked me really good. He beat me soundly. He was a very impressive general. That was a heck of a game. So yeah, so the GT went really well. First place, the one and only, the Boy King himself, John Lennon, with his sisters. Second place, Jaime with his Space Wolf list. Third place, Nanavati with his kind of rack spam MSU Drukari, and our local Hank with his dog heavy Admech got fourth. I really like what he's doing with Admech. I like he's doing these 10-man units that are just so stupidly shooty, and then a bunch of the close combat and a bunch of the dogs and some chickens, and he's got so many different kinds of damage. I played against it at the RTT last week, and I just really, really am impressed with that list, and he's put so many reps into it. This is certainly the best tournament performance he's ever had in his career to come to Charity Hammer and get fourth. So, absolutely super stoked for him. He's going to win something soon, Mitch. He's going to do it, and we need to have him on to listen to how his brain works, because he is a very, very sharp guy that's going to have a lot to share with the audience that I think that our listeners are going to really enjoy.
For sure.
So, it's definitely pushed mobility into that list, which I think is very intelligent.
I actually love the dogs and don't understand why they're not in more Admech lists.
If I was playing Admech, there would be a lot of the fire ponies, man.
You do play Admech?
Nope, I have not played Admech. I have played Grey Knights. I have not played Admech recently.
Fair enough. Ooh, someone in the comment in the listener viewer thing here wants to see if we want to be famous. We can buy followers.
Oh, really? How much are they?
I'm going to ask them and find out. Oh, I clicked ban. Oh, no, I can't message them.
Oh, well, can't get back to them.
Man, you fat-fingered that one. That was an opportunity for the podcast.
Yeah, we were almost famous.
I mean, that's normally where all the patron money goes, is to the people that ask me if we can buy followers.
Just so we can have a bigger number.
Yeah.
If you want, I can Photoshop it for
you. All right. So that's the GT. We also did the What's WOG got to do. What's WOG got to do with it? We also did that. And that was won by Seth. Unfortunately, the final game was not super close.
No.
It was not great. Chuck did get second place in the What's WOG, which I was very pleased with. It's very easy to get second place for people when you only have to win the one game previously, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a game against Rich Kilton, so no, it's not easy.
That's fair enough. I don't mean to take away your thunder. So Seth has created a new trophy. He's created a giant saw thing. What was it called? Choppa, thank you. He's created. I don't play orcs. He's created a giant choppa that he's going to bring and relinquish if he's defeated at What's WOG got to do with it, which means What's WOG got to do with it now has to be a thing that we do.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. Oh,
so
well. We're stuck.
Fred says he was just paid to be a follower. What the heck is going on? Wonderful. We did give away a lot of prizes. You can find out about them on the hour wrap-up that's on our YouTube. Emails have gone out, so check your email. If you haven't already, check your junk folder. It's from a guy named Nathan. Nathan is kind of coordinating all of that because I'm really bad at it. I'm just absolutely trash at it. So he's taken over that and is getting that all ready to be sent out. Prices should get to people in the next week, kind of 2 to 4 weeks probably. I'm sorry it's not faster. We're not next year. I might actually ask the the Child's Play people to have them do
Logistics.
The logistics of getting prizes to people, because they literally have a distribution company, like, so that might just be way easier. Yeah, so that's what happened there. Let's see, what else did we do? We had the hot sauce contest.
We sure
Yeah,
did.
we did.
And I've had a lot of ideas in my life. Some of them good, some of them bad. I'm not convinced that's one of my better ideas. I don't think we will continue doing the hot sauce challenge.
Oh, no, we got to do that again. That was great.
I
As a
don't think so.
participant, I really enjoyed it.
It was not... first of all, doing the chips was bad. We should have done wings. We did the chips because of COVID reasons. But the people that that do this more regularly than everybody else explained that it was incredibly easy to do because it was chips and not wings. But the problem we had is we had this group of people, and people started leaving, and suddenly we had the guy that only plays Necrons and tries to win, and the guy and Jim Vessel, who only plays Chaos and tries to win, and Alex, who only plays Tyranids and tries to win. And we had these people compete.
Don't forget Tanner.
Oh yeah, and Tanner, who literally was clear would never make a decision to save himself. Like, that was obvious. There was a comment in the Discord that said, one of two things is going to happen. Tanner is going to win or Tanner is going to die. And I think that is an accurate representation of how Tanner was doing. So we had these people that are hugely competitive people that are willing to suffer through bad codexes to play at 40K. And we said, okay, I'd like you to get on camera and let other people out suffer you, and you're going to have to drop out and say you couldn't do it. That is not what happened. Eventually, we had to just stop the contest because we were going to get people that were so sick that someone was going to throw up. And the minute someone throws up in the room that 2 of the 3 streams are in, the rest of Charity Hammer sucks.
Oh yeah, that would have been awful.
So that was a concern. The next morning, we had a ton of people leaving their streams because of how much spicy food they had. It's just a bad idea. It just doesn't actually work, no matter how entertaining it was.
Super fun. Would do again.
Yeah, it wasn't, first of all, there was no contest because in the end, everybody was still going. And second of all, we made a whole bunch of people ill, which literally caused problems for running the event. So I don't know that we'll do it again.
Definitely do it at the end of the event.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's an end of event thing.
Yeah, that way everybody goes.
Home.
That way everybody goes straight to an airplane after having all the super spicy food. I will tell you guys that after we left that stream, Tanner laid down on the concrete in the rain.
Yeah.
And just laid there. And Michael poured milk over his head, but he was sweating capsaicin, and the combination kind of coagulated the milk into this like dried milk paste that looked like he had glue on his forehead. It was a heck of a thing. It was a heck of a thing. It was not great. So, very entertaining if you'd like to go watch it. We will likely not do it again. Sorry, Mitch. If we had a place to do it where people could throw up and it wouldn't ruin the event, I might feel differently.
It's called a backyard.
Yeah.
That's what all American barbecues use. Why can't we? You're saying we're better than the American barbecue for vomiting in the backyard? I don't think so.
I'm going to stand behind my less vomiting at Charity Hammer is better Charity Hammer stance.
This is where we draw the line for class.
And
we want less vomiting.
Another thing that we did is at the end of the first day of the tournament, we had a bunch of people that were out of the GT and wanted to play in the RTT. Originally, we were just going to do the people that lost in the first round. That didn't work because a bunch of those people didn't want to play. Can you believe that? They just didn't want to. So we ended up making a 16-person losers tournament with everybody who did want to play, and that tournament was won by Alex McDougall. He decided, you know what? I think the beginning of the weekend was Alex losing like 4 times in a row. 4 or 5 times, something like that. And then he went to the RTT and he beat Paul Slanesh, and then he beat Tim Penny's sisters, and then he beat Rich Kilton's Orcs, and then he beat Thomas Bird's Ultramarines, which is just a heck of a path for our good friend Alex. And absolutely good job to him.
Man, he'd be so dangerous if he played a good army.
Right?
Maybe someday he will.
The problem is every once in a while his army turns good and then he is dangerous.
I know. I mean, he is dangerous anyway, but he'd be
Yeah.
so much more dangerous.
Let's see here. The objective markers, people love them. They're super great. They're for sale at 3d6boardgaming.net. Part of each proceeds of every set sold go back to Child's Play. So pick them up. Get a picture of Colin driving a Ridge Runner recklessly, and John Lennon along for the ride, and Alex McDougall incredibly concerned, which is what that.
He is very much the Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo crew there.
Yes.
He is looking worried.
There is a significant gap in the confidence that my cartoon character and John's cartoon character are experiencing versus the confidence that Alex McDougall's character is experiencing.
That's because he has a higher point of view.
Yes,
Yep.
that's probably true.
You
For
can
those
see the
that
dreadnought around the corner.
for those that don't know, the idea now is that each of these objective markers will be different each year, and they'll always reference something from the lore of the previous Charity Hammer. Ridge Runners is one of the most memorable things from last year's Charity Hammer, and so that's what's on this year. Next year, what will it be? I don't know. Could be Jaime in a Space Wolf outfit. Don't know. Haven't decided yet. Could be people vomiting from hot sauce. That'd be a great objective marker. Don't
Could
know.
be a boy king on a throne.
Could be a boy king on a throne with Sisters of Battle all around him. That could be a thing.
Yeah, like an emperor thing going on. There you go.
Maybe Sisters of Battle that all have like the heads of the other people that he defeat. I don't know. Okay, so maybe all of the heads are sad Tom Honey. Maybe that's they're all.
Look.
Oh,
Sisters don't like to admit that they're chaos. Don't put that on them.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see. People have asked me to talk about people staying in my house, which was a weird thing. First of all, especially because of COVID, it turns out my little dogs, not Gusta as much, my little dogs do not like people coming to and from the house. That's one thing that was very clearly documented over the course of the weekend. About 20 of the 40 people slept here, on couches, on the floor. Jaime slept underneath one of my dining room tables.
We had a whole system by the end of the weekend.
He really did.
How
He really did.
Set up.
I think was there 3 people in your room, Chuck, and 4 people in the room across the hall from you, and 4 people in the Art of War room, as we called it, downstairs. So, pretty crazy. A lot of the normal annoyances you'd think. Lots of people slamming doors that they don't need to and driving the dogs and Stephanie crazy, and lots of stuff like that. Lots of stuff like wet swim trunks left on wooden furniture, which is really irresponsible. But lots of that sort of stuff. The weirdest thing of the weekend, by a reasonable margin, is that we have a closet in our hallway and it has wooden shelves. One of them is missing. Someone took a wooden shelf from a closet and didn't tell me where it is. So, if you came to Charity Hammer, you don't need to embarrass yourself. Tell me through a person. Let's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon this. Like, just get me the information. I really just want the shelf back. I presume someone took it to put their army on it, but I don't remember seeing someone with a white piece of painted wood carrying their army around over the course of the weekend. Seems like a thing, as the owner of the home, I might have been like, hey, that looks like my shelf. We do not know where it is. We do not know what's happened to it. So that was that was easily the weirdest thing about having
got themselves a souvenir.
Yeah, we would have signed it if it was really that important to someone. We could have all signed
at
it.
Home with their white
It
shelf.
only has meaning if it's stolen, Colin.
Oh, my mistake.
That's how kleptomania works.
I also enjoyed that we have in the living room down here, we've got a couch and a love seat that both have people sleeping on them. And we also have what's called a chair and a half. It's just like a big chair. And it's not very long. And Brad Chester said, that's plenty big for me. And he just slept in it. And he just curled up in a little ball in this little chair. And this like one of the greatest 40K players on the planet curled up in a little ball, sleeping in a chair all weekend. Is he 25? No, he's like 52. That's not important, though. He's sleeping in a chair in a room full of other dudes all weekend. So, pretty amusing.
It felt great to just drive home.
Yes. There is a bunch of house next to my bedroom that people were not sleeping in. Isn't that weird? It's weird, right? We could have put more people in the house if we had accepted people sleeping next to the bedroom Stephanie and I sleep in, and we just decided that was a terrible idea. So we just didn't do that. Anywho, okay, let's see, what else do we got before we take the... Oh, we've got a bunch of listener questions to go through for a Charity Hammer.
Oh, awesome.
Let me see what I'm missing here from my list. Oh, we did 40K from 40K, which is a thing we've talked about for years. I'm having a shirt designed that says 40K from 40K. It's got the Charity Hammer logo. We're going to put that together. I don't know if it's going to be out right now or another week or two from now. It's all about getting it together, but it will be out. It's going to be one of those things where you buy it from the shirt maker and the money goes to Child's Play. We're not going to make money on that. Again, we don't make any money on Charity Hammer. The closest to making money we come is we get more viewers for the show and more viewers for our normal stream. That's the closest we come.
Yes, the cash cow that is Best in Faction.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Hey, it pays for itself, and that was the requirement.
I am proud of the podcast, but we don't get rich doing it.
We're not trying to make money doing it. It's true.
No, absolutely.
We could certainly be more blatant about trying to make money, but okay.
So like and subscribe.
Yes, and if you would like to go to the Patreon group and join the best Discord in all of 40K, you can find us at patreon.com/BIFPOD. But
that ain't no lie.
I don't feel like that's supporting the show. I feel like that money pays me to admin that place. That's what I think that's how that feels.
Well, it covers some of the costs of Charity Hammer.
Yeah, it does.
Nice.
It does. All right. Yes, the shirts will come in giant sizes. Do not worry. Yes, we
need some to wear.
I know my market. First of all, I wear a triple XL, and there are much men that are significantly larger than me. Okay, so shirts are going to be a thing. Mitch, what was your favorite 40K game either that you played or watched other people play over the weekend?
Oh man, I really, really enjoyed my game with Tanner. That was a rematch after I had lost to him in our ad mech off, and this was both of us bringing super hard skew lists to the GT, and him, telling people that he could kill 6 of my Toroxes in a turn, up to. And then he killed none in one turn, because it turns out that AP2 just means I have a 5-up all the time, so that can bite you. And then when I have, and so I was, that was a great game, though. It was very back and forth. It was, he clawed it back. He had Mortarion, so I'm constantly trying to avoid Mortarion and just being like, okay, I'm going to feed you this Torox, and everyone else, we go 12 inches this way. Keep going. Like, just conga line along. But I really enjoyed my game with Bridger.
Mm-hmm.
From
Tabletop Titans.
Yes, from Tabletop Titans. I'm not really familiar with Tabletop Titans. I don't watch a lot of YouTube 40K. I just don't have the time, and I live in a very small apartment, and my partner has no interest in watching that, so that's just not what's going to be on TV. But he was super cool, really fun opponent, like very witty banter. Like I really, really enjoyed our game. And we just had a great time with it, and it was just relaxing. Every game I had was amazing. That's the thing is, like, I only played maybe 2 or 3 people I've played before, and then I had, like, 5 games with people I had never played, or whatever it was. Like, it was great. I got to play Matthew Perry. What's that? Or Mark Perry. God damn it.
Man, if you had played Matthew Perry...
You know what? We really should have hyped that better for the charity.
Yeah, we would have raised a lot more money for charity.
A lot, and he must have shaved a lot for friends. Mark Perry, and it was a great game, and we just had a blast. And every game was that way, though. I got to play Tim, who's in the chat, or Tom, whatever universe you subscribe to on that one. But all of it was great. Everything was fun. I kept getting yelled at for hugging people before they had gotten COVID tested. I apologize.
I did a lot of yelling at Mitch for hugging people before I got COVID tested.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, it was all of our friends that we hadn't seen, and then new people who just became our friends. How can that not be after a year of just the worst everything? like pick a sector of life, and it was the worst. So, and I'm not saying that to be like pessimistic. It just sucked. Like this was such a bright, refreshing thing to get to experience. It was, and then the kindness from the audience and just the charity and just like it was just overwhelming. I know that everyone was choking up at the closing stream because it was just moving. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I appreciated getting hugged by people that aren't my children. That was a new experience. It had been years. But Chuck, favorite game, either that you played or that you watched or know about?
It's kind of a toss-up between two games I played. One, I get to play Rich Kilton, Orcs on Orcs, so that was fantastic. We got to literally just destroy each other while trying to scrape points out. That was a ton of fun. And then the other one, I think it is just before we started playing. I showed up and Mark Perry was looking for a game. We played a game, and he played his Slaanesh, which is all autocannons and noise marines. And my list is mostly vehicles. And orc vehicles are all ramshackle, and his guns were all strength 7 and strength 5. So it just literally cut his army's output in half. And neither of us really thought about that. Like, we were discovering a power of the Orc Codex as we played. And we were both just very excited to, like, shoot his guns at my units and be like, well, that was basically useless, and do it again. And we're both Orc players, so we're just getting more pumped for what that means. But that was a ton of fun. He's always just fun to hang out with, so getting a game with him was great.
My games aren't my favorite. I played games on stream and they were fine. I played a game against Nick where I forgot what Harlequins do, which was embarrassing because I play Harlequins. I had some fun games, but I really want to pick other people's games. My favorite game on stream, I've gone back and watched, and it's the late night game between the Falcon and John Quinnell. And the Falcon explains in detail the plot of My Girl in that stream. And it's
finally somebody does it.
And honestly, it's hilarious. And honestly, it's just deeply funny. And those two guys are just so clever and so funny that I just couldn't. It's just hilarious. Like, it's just deeply. The two of those guys playing 40K, neither of them are particularly aggressive, competitive 40K players. They both just love the game, and that's what that game was two friends playing that just really wanted to have a good time and really wanted to enjoy each other's company. And there's just, like Mitch kept saying, joy. There's just so much joy in that game. Just really wonderful. And then my favorite off-stream game was the 7-hour game of Nick Nanavati versus Tanner. Tanner kept asking Nick to play all weekend, and it was Saturday, and they set up a game on one of the tables we weren't using anymore because you guys don't care. One of the tables that wasn't in use. And they started playing, and both of them were drinking, and both of them were having a good time, and there was a lot of conversation, and every time the rest of us who were running the event would move around them, everybody kept commenting on how long that game had been going on. In the end, they played for like 7 hours, and a lot of very funny things happened, all related to this game of 40K that wasn't even on stream, just going on and on and on. Models falling. I found Tanner's models on the ground later. Like, they were just having a riot of a good time, and I believe Tanner did beat Mr. Nick Nanavati in that 7-hour car crash of a game where nobody played well and everything was a train wreck. So I loved that. Yeah. You know, the other thing we didn't comment on that we did was the team tournament.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we actually recorded the kind of strategy preps, and then John Lennon just whooped Nick at pairing. Sorry, Nick, if you're watching. I know you never do. But if you are, sorry. John just worked Nick at pairings, and our team ended up winning by quite a bit. They put Alex into me trying to stop me from getting a 20-0. Alex's Tyranids did not have enough to hold up the Ultramarines from steamrolling. Anyways, that was super great, and that was great to the degree that there is a lot of conversation happening right now that next Charity Hammer might be 4 8-person teams. And we might do that with the GT. I'm not sure if we can fit both. Haven't figured that out yet. I think we can. But the idea is we'll get the 4 top seeded people from the ELO system that Falcon did, and those 4 people will draft 7 other players for each of their teams, and we'll do an 8-on-8 team tournament with the all 32 people that are there. And then those people will all play in the GT. I think that might be what happens, but we want to do more team-based tournament stuff because that's a format that Mitch and Chuck and I will really love.
Yeah. So. And it needs more exposure. I think people need to see it so they can understand how much fun it is and start to envision how they want to get out and be a part of it.
Exactly right. Okay, so let's take some questions about Charity Hammer from our Discord, which you get access to by giving $5 a month to our podcast. Patreon.com/BIFPOD. All right, here we go. Chuck, what's the number one thing you change for next time?
I'd bring more than one army with me.
Oh, yeah.
But honestly, I think the event was so strong, I would have just liked to have had more variety of play options, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mitch?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because like I actually really like just playing like one army. I had to play the Dark Angels in the team tournament, and that was a disaster just because I didn't have the reps. And then I played against arguably the best Dark Eldar player like possible, so that was cool. But no, playing like I really got to play that list against a whole ton of like really high quality opponents, and it gave me a ton of like feedback on how I would make Scions work if I wanted to explore that further if I didn't have better options right now, which I do. But like I would pull out a couple Toroxes, I would fit in a couple Valkyries. That allows me to eliminate certain move blocking things, and it changes my threat patterns so that I can have more variety. Like there was a bunch of really cool data that I got out of just taking that list and smashing it against whatever I was playing for the whole time. And it really let me know like what I should value and what I shouldn't very quickly. But I would probably, if I was going to do something different, I would have tried to have made it so I could have possibly like had more time to play like off-camera games.
Yeah,
there's a different vibe, and I just didn't have the time or energy for that. There was too much catching up to do. Part of that was the COVID, and just like not having been around people like nearly like for socializing. Like there's just so many things, and you want to make sure you're rested for your game, so you don't make stupid mistakes on stream that the internet freaks out about, or something like that. I don't know. That never happens. It's probably fine.
No, I definitely have to change my answer. We'd rent a dumpster.
Oh, yeah. We're renting a dumpster for sure.
That would have given me a lot more time to play.
Mm-hmm. We were renting a dumpster. The amount of trash that got taken to the dump was disappointing. Dumpster for sure next time. I have a long list of things that are changing because that's my job here. For those that are maybe new to the show, I'm actually a crazy person. And part of the enjoyment of the show is that I'm usually pretty open about my craziness. I can't do the same thing again. That isn't how I work. It has to be different. It has to be more. We have a lot of ideas. Probably the thing that will surprise people the most is I'm likely not going to play next year. I did not do a good job of playing. I did not show off high level 40k. I was distracted. I was tired. It just was not something. It was very difficult for me to manage Colin the homeowner that everybody like that is taking care of all these people at his house. Colin the runner of Charity Hammer, and Colin the 40k gamer that does well at tournaments. Like those three Collins have a very difficult time existing at the same time. So I likely won't play much next time, but we are talking about having a living room set style setup where Falcon and I are hosting a kind of a talk show, and we're grabbing people as they come to and from games and interviewing people and filling space content with that. So that's I want to do more performing and less playing, basically, is what that comes down to. So there's my number one thing, is how I'm involved. That, and I really want to do a team tournament. I'll play in the team tournament, but I won't play in anything else probably. Or maybe I won't play in anything. We'll see. Let's see. In the sea of sharks that is Charity Hammer, is there any promising new talent? Let's pick one or two people each. Chuck, why don't you go first?
Tyler Bortel. I think he's an incredibly good player who is swimming upstream right now because Tyranids are awful. I think he's young. He's got the energy, and he's got a lot of enthusiasm and go for it. And I think he's gonna surprise us for the next couple of years.
I don't know that it's going to surprise me, but I'm with you with the rest of you said, because I think that I see it coming too.
I think it's going to be like an 11-inch charge out of deep strike. You won't even know.
Okay, Mitch.
Lucas is the other obvious one. We already talked about Jaime, but Lucas, the Portland boys in general. I think like you could argue Tanner as well. He was also just on Graham After Dark and was hilarious. That was super great. So there's I'm really excited about how the Portland scene has developed. I think that's one of my big takeaways, not just from Charity Hammer, but for the Prep GT and everything, is Portland has a really thriving scene right now, and that benefits everyone, and it's super exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to have some powerful competition in the area. That makes the game more fun.
Yeah, our meta's really coming alive. It's really exciting. I would have picked any of the three people that you guys just talked about. I thought that Anthony was impressive. He's very new to competitive competitive 40K. Yeah. I thought he was impressive.
Super nice dude too.
Jaime beat the crap out of me. Like, I haven't been beaten in the way that Jaime beat me. I haven't been beaten like that in a long time, years. So certainly Jaime. The Boy King is still young. So there's also
yeah, I think that guy's probably going to do pretty well in the future.
Yeah, this was a murderer's row. This was really a heck of a thing for that. Charity Con is the next question. I don't know if this is what they mean, but officially next year, the weekend before Charity Hammer, there's going to be a major tournament at a hotel near SeaTac Airport. I'm going to run it with Jason Bird, tournament organizer extraordinaire. We're going to start looking for hotels. We're going to do this. I want it to be the biggest tournament in the Pacific Northwest. That's what I want it to be. In order to do that, I think we have to get above 100 people. I don't know what the biggest T-shift ever is, but that would be what it was, right, Chuck? There's not something I don't know about that's more than 100 people.
Unless you go way back to when GW was running events, maybe they did a burger event, but I don't know.
I don't think Washington State has ever had a tournament over 100 people. I don't think. If it is, it's a little bit over 100. But that's what I want to do. We'll see if that's logistically plausible. But here's the idea. We're going to tell you guys about this tournament 6 months in advance. We're going to tell you when it is. We're going to tell you the agenda. We're going to get it all out to you. And what we want is for listeners to come. That's what we want. We want listeners of this show to fill that tournament. We want our patron group to come. We want our friends to be here. And that tournament's going to be super huge party Friday night, tournament Saturday, Sunday, and then those people that are participating in Charity Hammer can hang out for the week. They can play 40K with each other. They can see the area, and then we'll roll into doing Charity Hammer. It also lets me have people like Adam Camilleri, who wants to come up from Australia. It lets me invite him to 2 things that are a week apart rather than just coming up for one weekend. It's a lot of stuff, but that's the plan. I don't know if I'll play in that, but I know that Chuck will, and I know that Mitch will.
So I might TO it.
That's true. You probably will TO it. Now that I said that out loud. But we want to have a mixture of our listeners and the players from Charity Hammer and our locals, and we just want to have this big love fest for 40K. That's just everyone who just loves the game. All together in one big thing the week before Charity Hammer. So we're not going to do the thing again where people seed from a tournament into Charity Hammer. Logistically, that was very hard. We won't be doing that again, but we will do the big tournament the weekend before. Someone's asking who was tasked with applying Bengay and talcum powder to Brad Chester. We agreed not to talk about that, so we're going to move on.
Yeah, there's an NDA. It's all very complicated.
We developed sort of a shaking trough out of several laundry baskets that.
You just toss them in there and give it a good.
Yeah, it was sort of a tumbler, if you will.
The next question is: in true BIFPOD fashion, what mistakes were made in the running of the event, and what will you do next time? Man, this is not going to be a very positive podcast if you ask I think Chuck and Mitch know that I can bitch. I'm good at it. So
these are our listeners. They know too.
Yeah. So We had a dog medical emergency the day before Charity Hammer that took Stephanie out of being able to do food for some of the meals. And it ended up that the other person that I'm not going to call out, I'm not calling Stephanie out, but the other person I'm not going to call out that was also supposed to help with meals decided they couldn't do it. So we were struggling to feed 40 people. So that was probably the most stressful thing of the weekend for me. Next year we're going to have we're going to do catering first of all, and we're going to let sponsors sponsor the meals because then the caterers will just show up and feed us. But we're going to have people in charge of that are not me that are going to make sure everybody gets fed. But food was a big problem. Note, you can feed the least expensive way to feed that many dudes is Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you shouldn't do it.
No. That leads to one of the best stories of the event, though. I show up and I order like 15 buckets of chicken, and the guy looks me dead in the face and he says, "Is this for here to go?" I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna sit down and eat 150 pieces of chicken. Yeah, that's. Now I'm a big guy, but seriously.
He believed in you.
Yeah, he did. Kentucky Fried Chicken was not a great decision for me. Street tacos from the local taqueria was a great decision for me. Mm-hmm. Street tacos was not bad to feed everybody. We did burgers one night. Yeah, food was problematic.
Getting a professional restaurateur to do one of the meals, certainly. Shout out to Jim Vessel for running that grill and doing a great job right there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There were other mistakes. Not big ones, though. Not really. Like, when on the day of my wedding with Stephanie, I said to her that morning, remember, something is going to go wrong. We just need to hope it's something that makes a good story. Yeah. And that's how I try to approach events. So, like, yeah, things went wrong. There's a shelf missing from my closet. That's weird. but nothing happened that's bad that isn't a good story. Nobody had a medical emergency. No one, fell off a ladder. Like, there's a lot of bad stuff that could have happened. No one fell in the pool. Yeah, no one fell in the pool. Like, there's bad stuff that could have happened where people could have gotten hurt, and none of that happened. So, yeah. So let's see. Did you find the missing shelf? No, I did not. Most mystical Tyler moment. Tyler didn't actually sleep at all. Tyler napped for like an hour here or there and then woke up and made sure the streams were going still. It was really not what anyone asked him to do, and yet he was kind of the hero we needed and not the hero he deserved, I think is the phrase. There was one night where he finally got to go to sleep, and he's like, I'm so glad that today isn't Thursday number 3. Let's see. Rice Krispie Treats for Perry. We didn't buy Rice Krispie Treats this year. Imagine that. No toilets were broken. What I've heard is that the most interesting game of the weekend is either Bridger and John Lennon or Jaime and John Lennon. For those that are looking for really hot, like the Jaime John Lennon final, I've been told is the best competitive streamed game of 9th edition by a lot of people. Like, I didn't ask them if that's what it is. That's the compliment that people gave it. So you can find that on our YouTube.
Wait to watch it.
Find that on our YouTube. You can give it a watch. Did anyone steal a souvenir? And was it Gus? It was not Gus. He's right behind me. He's right there. Hi, Gus. Okay. Gus. Oh, if someone had stolen Gus, it would have been Jaime. Just so we're all clear. Gus got walked a lot. And
yeah. Every time I drove anywhere, as I drove back, I would see him out on a walk. It was like, He was the happiest pup.
He went on like 3 or 4 walks a day. None of them by me. What I would do is take him and I would wander him around and let him say hi to everyone. And it's so interesting to me how many people talk about how cute dogs are versus how many people actually stop to play with him when he's coming by. Like, there's a lot of people that love dogs that this 100-pound lab come by and they're like, whoa. Like, and then there's people like Mitch who's like, oh, hold on, guys. I have to pause my game. I got to wrestle with Gusta here on the ground.
He's the best.
He is the best. Let's see. Wildest dice spike story? I don't know. Who was the most handsome guest at Charity Hammer, and why was it the Falcon is the question. I think to say that it's not Jaime.
From the Falcon? by chance?
No, it's from Danny.
Okay.
I think that to say it's not Jaime would be lying to the audience. Like, Jaime is charming and absolutely good looking and well spoken, and yeah, it's definitely Jaime. Sorry, Jaime, if I made it weird, but if I got to pick a most attractive, I'm going to pick you. It's a little bit like being the most civilized monkey at the zoo. Like, you're still a monkey, but you are the best one. Let's see here. Who has the best wog? Oh man, Rich Kilton's the one that the neighbors complained about. My neighbors asked why somebody was screaming at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I looked at the schedule and it was Kilton.
Well, I think that's your winner then.
The logging in the middle of the night, so loudly we could hear it across the parking lot in the house, was probably not a thing we should have done if we're talking about mistakes of Charity Hammer.
Sure.
Yeah, let's see what else we got here. What is the criteria, roughly, definitively, to be invited to next year's Charity Hammer? Asking for a friend. You'll know if I ask you, because it's very, it is in demand. And I'm just not going to read what the Falcon said. That's just how my life. I'm not going to.
Where can I find what the Falcon said?
So
on the Patreon group
under Lightning Round.
I gotta pay my $5 for that. Hold on.
Yeah.
Such good value.
So that's Charity Hammer. Here's what you have to look forward to. First of all of the games are on the different streams, on the different YouTubes, all of them. So ours and Art of War and also Can Hammer TV. You can find all the games. They're all up. They're all there for free for you. You can still donate if you want to the Tiltify. Just Google Charity Hammer Tiltify. That's the easiest way to do it. But you don't need to. We raised a lot of money. We're very happy with what everybody did. And thank you again so much for making this miracle happen. Shirts coming up, objective markers for sale. The next event will be in December or January, and it will be Hammer Out Cancer 2. It'll be a local event probably. Not as long, not as many streams, but cancer needs money too, not just sick kids. And then Charity Hammer will be next summer. Yeah.
Colin.
Yes.
Donations are open for 30 days up after Charity Hammer, right? Is what you were doing?
I was actually just looking at the Tiltify and seeing if it actually does.
Well, no, because we have a Baneblade we're giving away after 30 days for the people who donated after Charity Hammer, right?
Oh, I was just going to give that away already. But yes, let's do that. That makes more sense.
So there you go, guys. That's your reason to donate. Let's see if we can get to 44, because, hey, it's not 40K for 40K, but, it's 2 numbers in a row. That's something, I guess. I don't know. More money for kids.
There's a person named Tamagotchi Express that wants to come be a photographer, and that concerns me because isn't that like a little plastic toy that we have to keep track of the whole weekend? Isn't that a large amount of responsibility that we'd be taking on? Isn't that what a Tamagotchi is?
Tamagotchi?
Is that a Tamagotchi? Really? Okay, fine. We're moving on. Tamaguchi, I believe. Tamagotchi? I don't. Okay, so, fine. I think I'm funny. That's what my wife also thinks I'm funny.
Well, doesn't it say Tomodachi Express?
It does. It's friend in Japanese, he says. He or she says. They say. So that's what's going on with Charity Hammer. And then next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend, the 3 of us are going to a GT that might be a major. If you are in the area and you want to come to an amazing tournament in Hoquiam, Washington, it's over by the water on the peninsula. Check out Harbor Heresy and BCP. It is the best terrain you'll play on. It's the terrain we showed off at Charity Hammer. It's the best people in the area. There's a bunch of us. I think we're at high 40s, and we're trying to get to 58 for it to be a major. It's Kelsey.
Birthday event. I'm gonna be celebrating my birthday, so I'm gonna have a great time. I'm excited.
It's Kelsey, and he sent us stuff from Hawaii. He did. And that stuff did get eaten quickly by the people that were staying in the house. It didn't actually make it out to the rest of the Charity Hammer folks.
Oh,
wow.
Now I'm sad.
Thank you, Kelsey, for your caffeinated beans and other assorted delicious snack foods. Okay, we do appreciate it. I didn't. If I didn't sound like we do appreciate it.
Speaking of food shout-outs, those cookies that Josh Bragwell brought and dropped off.
Oh, from Crumble.
Yeah, where like literally people broke into tears. They were so good. I don't know what was in them. I don't know how you could repeat that, but that's how I want to die.
Well, there's one in Marysville, and we went there to try to buy additional cookies. And you know what? You know what lines look like at Chick-fil-A's when they opened for the first time?
Oh God, really?
Yeah, it was around the building twice, and Stephanie and I decided that while those cookies are magical, that's BS, and we did not purchase cookies that day.
All right.
So, but the crumble cookies were incredible, and JT McDowell did die and talk about how it reminded him of his grandmother. So
yeah,
it was a touching Charity Hammer moment. Okay, so let me just say one more time. You guys are the most amazing people ever. This is a silly thing. Like the idea of I'm going to get a whole bunch of people here and they're going to stream way more 40K content that you can ever possibly watch. Please donate, and you guys do. And boy, did you! $40,000. That's so much money that's going to so many hospitals across Australia, the United States, England, Europe. It's just there aren't words. So thank you so much. Thank you for making Charity Hammer so magical. Here's my commitment to you. You guys did what I asked. You donated like crazy. So here's my commitment to you. Next year will be even more incredible. We will do things that are just way even above and beyond what we did this year. That's how we're going to do it. It's going to keep going every year. We're going to keep doing amazing stuff. You guys are going to keep donating. We're going to keep supporting those sick children. And it's just going to continue being a thing for as long as I can do it. And I'll tell you right now that I made a commitment to some people that even if I wasn't playing 40K, I would still run Charity Hammer. So that's how you know that it's real and going to happen. I did appoint Tyler as official technology head for all charity events for as long as he's willing to do it. So that will help us also continue to grow the technology. He was actually writing custom code to try to make things happen on the streams, and it didn't all get rolled out. So there's surprise secret tech that will roll out next year.
He made it so much easier to be a stream host just by building a little interface for putting scores and stuff into.
Oh yeah.
Like he's just like, oh, I just made this web page to handle it. Here you go. It's like, oh, okay, thank you. This is. I just added a good user interface. Please enjoy.
Yeah. He really was the MVP. Tyler was really the most valuable person. So yeah, okay. I think that the most incredible thing about Charity Hammer is the people that came. That's what I think. So it's really the quality of the people. That's really why the event works to begin with. And I just want to do one more thing before we leave here today, and I am on the wrong webpage to do it. But what I would just like to do is I would just like to click on this link and have it actually come up and not have the internet not respond. Would be my preference. Come on, go. You can do it. Hold on. Just 1 second, everyone. You're all being very patient, and I appreciate that. There we go. Okay. So, I'd like to make a special thank you to as we get ready to roll out for the episode here. I'd like to make a special thank you to John Lennon, Paul Winters, Bridger Hahn, Tim Penny, Mark Perry, J.T. Steiger, Mitch Pelham, Tanner Haber. I wanted to call it wrong, Tanner. Jim Vessel, Tyler Bortel, Michael Timpey, Anthony Vanilla, Alex McDougall, Hank Adams, Thomas Bird, David Robson, Nick Nanavati, Steve Trimble, Danny McDevitt, Seth Oster, Rich Kilton, Lucas Trawler, Zach Nelson, Fred Fortman, Brad Chester, Ryan Lynn, JT McDowell, Jaime Paris, myself, I'll thank me too, Jeremiah Bergdale, Ruben Fernandez, Charles Arnett, and the people that didn't participate in the GT and were fundamentally, mandatorily, just so important. The Falcon, Tyler Agee, Peter Akey, Rachel McDowell, John Quinnell, Jason Schuster, and God, I hope I got everybody that didn't play, and Pickles. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's everybody. That is the group. That is the reason Charity Hammer was awesome, not because of me, because of all of those people. And I appreciate them, and I appreciate all of you guys, and I appreciate my wonderful co-hosts here. Just completely great. So that's what we got, and we'll be back in just a few weeks to talk about a tournament coverage, which is something we don't get to do very often anymore.
So such a super weird return to form where we'll all be participating in an event.
Yeah, it really will be. All right, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back at you before you know it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.